The rain had fallen all morning, soaking the rusted tin roofs and turning the clay roads to syrup. People scurried through the market, shielding baskets with sheets of plastic or hunched umbrellas. At the edge of town, near a half-collapsed brick wall and an overgrown mango tree, a girl of 8 sat on a dry patch beneath a tarp, waiting. She had been waiting for 3 days. Her name was Layla, and her small canvas bag held a torn doll, 2 slices of stale bread, and a crumpled photo of her mother, smiling in front of a yellow gate. On the back, in smudged pencil, was written, "If anything happens, go here. They will help you." She had arrived with hope. That someone behind that yellow gate, her aunt, her grandmother, anyone, might open the door and say, "Layla, we've been waiting for you." But when she knocked, a man she didn't recognize had opened the door and said there was no one there by that name anymore. And the yellow gate had closed. She hadn't cried, not then. She was too stunned. It wasn't until later, when the street lights came on and she realized she had nowhere to sleep, that the tears fell. But no one paid attention to another child crying in the rain. In a town like this, children were everywhere, and none of them had safe stories. Layla's mother, Farida, had left her with a neighbor a week before. Just for a few days, she'd said, adjusting her headscarf and fixing her lipstick in the cracked mirror. "I need to travel." Layla had been used to this, her mother leaving for a day, sometimes 2. Farida sold clothes in different towns, traveled with a friend, and came back with coins and stories. But this time had felt different. There was tension in her hands as she tied Layla's braid. There was no kiss on the forehead. Just a hurried wave and a suitcase that didn't look like it was packed for 2 days. 3 days later, the neighbor, a bitter old woman with a scar down her arm, had given Layla the photo and pointed to the road. "Go to your mother's sister," she'd said. "She's in the next town. Don't come back here." Layla had asked, "Why can't I stay with you?" "Because your mother doesn't want you," the woman had replied bluntly. "She's married now. He doesn't want another man's child." Layla didn't understand what that meant, not then. But the words stayed with her like thorns. Now, on the 4th day, Layla woke with a fever. Her forehead burned, and her legs felt heavy. She hadn't eaten since yesterday afternoon, and her mouth was dry as chalk. Her doll, once white, was now the color of mud, and its button eye had fallen off. She stood and tried knocking on the yellow gate again, hoping maybe someone different would answer this time. But it was the same man. "I told you already, girl. There's no one here for you." "She's my mother's sister," Layla pleaded. "She moved long ago. Try somewhere else." And the door closed again. The market was noisy, and she wandered through it like a shadow. One vendor gave her a bruised banana. Another shouted at her for staring too long at his roasted yams. No one asked her name. No one asked where she belonged. That night, she curled beneath a wooden stall and cried into her bag. "I didn't do anything wrong," she whispered to the doll. "She just left." 2 weeks passed. A woman named Madame Chenier, who sold spices at the market, began to notice her. One morning, she called her over and asked her name. "Layla. Where are your parents?" "I don't know." "Where do you sleep?" "Nowhere." Chenier said nothing, but later that day, she handed Layla a packet of rice and a plastic cup of water. "Come here in the mornings. I'll give you something." And she did. Not much, a little food, a smile, sometimes an old scarf when the wind grew cold. She even let Layla help with the stall, carrying baskets or wiping dust from jars. But when asked if she would take the child in, she always said, "No, no. I have too many mouths at home." One afternoon, 3 months after the yellow gate had closed, Layla saw her again. Her mother. She was stepping out of a black taxi near a jewelry shop, dressed in a bright orange dress and gold earrings. Her stomach was round with pregnancy, and she was laughing with a tall man in sunglasses. Layla froze. Her feet moved before her mind did. She ran. Mama! Farida turned. Her eyes widened. She took a step back. Layla ran into her arms, clinging to her waist. I looked for you. I went to the house. They said you were gone. Farida hesitated. Her arms did not wrap around her child. Instead, she looked at the man beside her. He frowned. Who is this? He asked. Farida's voice came low. It's no one. Layla blinked. Mama? Farida knelt, forcing a smile. Layla, you shouldn't be here. I've been living on the street. I waited at the yellow gate. You didn't come. I couldn't, Farida said, her voice trembling. I had to move. Things changed. I got married. Layla's throat tightened. You left me. I tried to make sure you'd be okay. I left you with someone. She said you didn't want me anymore. Farida stood up. The man whispered something to her. She nodded. I can't take you, she said quickly. Not now. Layla reached for her hand. But I'm your daughter. Farida's eyes filled with tears. I'm sorry. And she turned away. Layla watched the taxi pull away, shrinking into the dust. She stood there for hours. A woman passed and asked if she was all right. Layla didn't respond. Her heart was pounding so hard it felt like it would break her ribs. That night, she returned to her usual corner behind the spice stall. She didn't cry. She just lay still, her face to the wall. The next morning, Chinyar noticed something different. You saw her, didn't you? Layla nodded once. She said no. Chinyar sighed. I'm sorry. Layla finally asked the question that had been rotting in her since that moment. Why did she leave me? Chinyar didn't speak for a long time. Some people, she said carefully, don't know how to carry their past when starting something new. They think letting go is easier than holding on. But I'm not her past. I'm her daughter. You are. And one day, she'll have to face that truth. But until then, you must live. For yourself. Layla kept working with Chinyar. She learned to measure spices, how to talk to customers, how to handle change. She became part of the market's rhythm. People began to know her. Some called her Spice Girl. Others just nodded in greeting. A year passed, then two. Layla was 10 when Chinyar's husband died. The house felt emptier, quieter. Her children had grown and moved to the city. One evening, after they had closed the stall, Chinyar looked at Layla and said, "Come home with me." Layla blinked. Why? Because I'm tired of pretending you're not mine. The house was small but warm. Chinyar gave her a mattress beside the kitchen and taught her how to make pepper soup from scratch. On Saturdays, they scrubbed the compound clean together. At school, Layla excelled. She loved books. Loved stories. She wrote poems in the margins of old notebooks and read them aloud in the market when business was slow. She didn't forget her mother. But she stopped waiting. When she was 16, she entered a national essay contest. The theme was "What Family Means to Me." She wrote honestly. Family isn't always who brings you into the world. Sometimes, it's who refuses to let you drown in it. My mother gave me life, but another woman taught me how to live. She won. Years later, at a book signing in the capital, a woman approached her, wearing a faded headscarf and carrying a small boy. Layla? Layla looked up. Her smile froze. Farida. Her hair had grayed. Her hands trembled. I read your book, she said. The one about the child left at the yellow gate. Layla's voice was calm. Yes. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. Layla studied her for a moment. Why now? I've thought of you every day. That doesn't change what happened. I know. They stood in silence. The little boy tugged at Farida's dress. Mama, who is she? Farida hesitated. Then whispered, your sister. Layla's heart stuttered. She looked at the boy, who stared with wide, curious eyes. Then she smiled.